Howdy fellow Whovians and welcome to Timey Wimey Review, where today I review one of the stories that have been dubbed the worst story in the history of Doctor Who. Does this four-part adventure deserve such an accolade? Well, please hit the subscribe button as I review the first Doctor story, The Gunfighters, originally broadcast on BBC One in April 1966. Just in case you don't know the plot, the first Doctor, Stephen and Dodo arrive in Tombstone, Arizona in 1881, with the Doctor in a desperate search for a dentist for his severe toothache. The TARDIS crew are soon caught up in the Wild West events leading up to the infamous gunfight at OK Corral. So let's start with the good. I like that this four-part adventure tries to do something a little bit bold, a little bit more adventurous, and maybe a little bit too overambitious at times. Particularly, for example, there's a scene where you see the three men riding into town on their horses. For BBC standards, especially for 1960s BBC and such a low budget show like Doctor Who, I thought it did look pretty impressive. The sets and the costumes as well, imitating the Wild West, I thought looks pretty good, like I said, for the BBC standards at the time. And I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate or not, but this was at least one of the first British attempts at doing a Wild West type of story or show. So again, you have to give plaudits to the ambitions and the set designs and the costumes that they were trying to give out that feeling of a Wild West adventure. I thought our main trio did a good job with the material that was given. I really enjoyed William Hartnell. I thought he was quite comical in quite a lot of this story. Really enjoyed him calling Wyatt Earp Mr. Werp mistakenly. I thought they should have played up to that a little bit more. Maybe Wyatt Earp correcting the Doctor every time he said Mr. Werp. Whether William Hartnell would have been up for that is a different story altogether. Stephen, I thought it was, again, really good job. Really enjoyed Peter Purvis, to be honest. And even though his accent was a little bit all over the place, trying to sort of imitate American accents or Wild West accents, I suppose. Again, that could have been played up a bit more. There were sort of talks about that during the scenes, with the Doctor disagreeing with Dodo's and Stephen's choice of outfits. And yeah, again, the story should have really played up to that. And sort of like, everyone sort of questioning who these strangers are. The only thing I thought was even a little bit more unbelievable, rather than the accents given, was Stephen playing the piano. Now, you can just about buy it. But I think in the story, I think Dodo was supposed to have been the piano player, and Stephen was this other part of this entertaining troupe. But then the Cowboys was like, nope, you're going to play the piano. So it was a bit, I don't know, with him being a spaceman from the future, would he have had time to play the piano? Would he have been bothered to play the piano? I don't know. If anything, I would have given that to Dodo. I do feel sorry for Jackie Lane, because her whole sort of story arc of Dodo's adventure, she was really she was kind of like the third wheel in some stories, and that's nothing against the actress whatsoever. She's kind of there. I kind of felt that Dodo was this sort of quite a no nonsense type of female companion, but kind of sort of square pegged her into the damsel in distress type of role. I did like the interactions between her and Doc Holliday, but I think they kind of missed a trick with this character overall throughout her tenure in Doctor Who. Onto the supporting cast, I really like Anthony Jacobs as Doc Holliday. Really enjoyed his interaction with the first Doctor in the dentist scene. Speaking of which, First Doctor was very brave. I don't like the dentists at the best of times. And, when you got a toothache, the first place you would not be looking for is Wild West in 1881. No chance. And the Doctor not going for any anaesthetic at all. Well, the only anaesthetic would have been whiskey. The first Doctor doesn't touch alcohol. So he pretty much had his tooth extracted with no anaesthetic at all. He just went in sober as a judge, really. And yeah, I wouldn't do that. Not in a million years. If anything, I thought that would have triggered off a regeneration. That must have been absolutely painful. Also, a shout out to Lawrence Payne as Johnny Ringo. I really enjoyed his character when he came into it in episodes 3 and 4. Being basically this gun for hire, whoever pays in the highest, he will be on that side regardless, really. And yeah, he had some funny moments and some sort of dark moments when he kills the bartender. Thought that was pretty cool. And Doctor Who fans would know him as also as the Starry in the Two Doctors. But here I thought he was pretty cool character to play. It was also cool to see some Thunderbird legends. We had Shane Rimmer, who has also been in numerous big screen films like Star Wars and Superman, and of course David Graham. He was the bartender, as I mentioned earlier. He was also a voice of the Daleks in the early series of Doctor Who, especially in the 60s, but also Brains and Parker in Thunderbirds. Really good to see these two living legends also be a part of the Doctor Who family. On to the bad, and let's address the elephant in the room, which was the song that was played out throughout the 4-part adventure, which is entitled The Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon. Now, this song was sung by the TV legend, the late TV legend that was Linda Barron, who sadly passed away earlier this year. And the song itself is good. I've got no real problems with that. I thought Linda Barron did a really good job singing this song. The problem, though, is this song is used way, way too much. It is just overplayed throughout this 4-part adventure. If it's not used at the beginning, it's used at the end of an episode, and then it's on to part 2 and 3 and 4. And if it's not used by that, someone else is singing the song, like Stephen was playing it at one point. We had it as background music or incidental music. Katie the songstress was singing it. It was just too much. What would have been better is maybe just use the song to sort of introduce as an intro and an outro to all 4 parts. I thought that would have been quite good. And then if anything, sell it as an extended record, or as a collection type of thing, telling the full story of the Last Chance Saloon. That would have been a better sort of thing, because then you kind of got all the Doctor Who enthusiasts involved. I'm sure people own this record in some shape or form, but yeah, this song just well overplayed. Even at one point, I think that they just sung the song again to sort of at the end of part 4, and then it literally plays up again within like seconds, and Dodo sort of dancing away like, no, enough of the song. The song was too much. So yeah, overplayed song. The other bad part, I would say, is the gunfight itself in episode 4. I felt that the wheels was really falling off the track of this story. I was, genuinely entertained, but this gunfight was a bit all over the place. So what I found amusing was we had Wyatt Earp and the other sheriff. I can't remember the names. Do apologise. They were sort of walking down the street, and then you had all the Clantons just firing away, really just shooting all their bullets. And they miss. I don't know how this works. They were just proper, just bang, 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 and just missing everywhere. These guys should have been dead straight away. And then the gunfight was starting to get a bit more better choreographed. But I thought the death scenes were pretty hilarious and over the top. So if someone died, it was pretty much like Jim Carrey in The Mask. That scene. So he's sort of like boom, and falling off stages and stairs and stuff like that. At one point, you do see the sound stage, and you don't quite see the lights in the camera, but you do see like the ending of the stage when this gunfight was going on. It was just too ambitious at that point, really, to pull off. I think it would have been better maybe as a one-on-one draw. Apparently this wasn't overly historically accurate. Johnny Ringo wasn't part of this gunfight at the OK Corral, apparently. I'm no historical expert, but that doesn't really overly detract from the story itself that they were trying to portray. It was just a bit too ambitious in the style. I think if it went for more one-on-one gunfights, that would have been better with a few sort of stunt work thrown into the mix. As I mentioned at the beginning of this review, this story has been dubbed as one of the worst stories in the history of Doctor Who, and there's a little bit of a myth behind that actual moniker. What I was alluding to was the audience appreciation figure at the time, which is separate to the audience rating. So the actual viewership for this story was around about 6 to 7 million from what I could research, which is, it's good. It's nowhere near the best, but it's certainly nowhere near the worst, especially for 60s Doctor Who. I don't think it got any better than that until Patrick Troughton took over the role in terms of 60s Doctor Who audience figures. But what this was alluding to was the audience appreciation figure. And this scored 30% from what I can see, which is bad. It is bad. I'm not a huge expert on this. I know there's many people out there on YouTube that are better experts in terms of viewership and appreciation index. But from what knowledge that I do know is that the appreciation index is round about sort of, for a good to brilliant, you're looking at around the 80% mark plus for really sort of good feedback or impression for a story or episode. So to have 30% is quite bad on its first outing, to be fair, and probably little to no repeats ever since, apart from obviously going out on DVD, Blu-ray and streaming services. So, do I think this story deserves this accolade? I'm going to say no. So I'm going to round this up and say I'm going to give the Gunfighters a TARDIS rating of 6 out of 10. I got to appreciate the effort that's been put into this story. Like I said, they tried to do something a little bit something different. Maybe got a little bit too ambitious. I did like the sets and the costumes and the acting for the most part, even though the accents are very wobbly and all over the place. What this story does let down is in terms of the storylines with the mistaken identity between the Doctor and Doc Holliday. That was getting a little bit messy in the middle. I sort of struggled to follow that with the other characters that have been thrown in there, like the Clantons and Wyatt Earp and Charlie and Ringo, and yeah, it kind of got a little bit messy. And the gunfight itself was again just a bit too ambitious and just didn't quite live up to what they could have done. I think they could have, maybe just better shoot that. But we're talking 60s Doctor Who, where everything is pretty much live TV, and they were churning out these episodes very quickly on a weekly basis, so they didn't have that much time and effort. Certainly time to get this as polished as they possibly could. But I've got to admire the effort and just the like I said, the ambition of trying to do something different in Doctor Who, and it certainly shows that Doctor Who can be anything it wants to be. The only thing that's holding it back is the person's imagination. So again, I just truly do appreciate what this story was trying to do for especially for 60s Doctor Who. I hold this story way better than the Web Planet. I've still haven't finished that episode or the complete story for that. I just struggle so bad. I did mean to review this the Web Planet last year and still haven't gotten around to doing it. So I will try at some point this year to do it. But for this story, it's a bit all over the place, but it is still enjoyable to watch. I would recommend checking it out, especially if you are a hardcore Doctor Who fan. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts to the Gunfighters. Do you have a soft spot for this story, or do you absolutely hate it? If not this episode or story, what is your worst episode or story of Doctor Who? And do you have the Ballad of Last Chance Saloon stuck in your head after watching this adventure? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, I will be reviewing the 12th Doctor episode, The Pilot, which introduced a new companion, Bill Potts. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell for more notifications, and come say hi and follow me on Twitter at ReviewTimey. And as the good doctor once said, after all, you can't walk into the middle of a western town and say you come from outer space.